Our next presentation is on an issue that has been in the news a lot recently, which is foreclosures. And we now are going to have a presentation from the Residential Abandoned Property Program, Doug Leeper, who's the Court Enforcement Division Manager, and Chris McCoy, the Code Enforcement Officer. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to express my appreciation for the honor of being here today, and moreover, my privilege of serving and representing the citizens, the employees and elected officials of the city of Chula Vista. Chula Vista is located between San Diego and Tijuana. We're the second largest city in the county of San Diego. For several years, we were the fastest growing city in the state of California, on and off, and we kind of traded that place with a couple other cities. And we were the fastest growing community in the nation once upon a time here in the last 10 years. That presented a series of problems when the housing market took a dive, in that we had been producing up to 3,800 new homes per year for a period of about 10 years. All of those folks, the majority of those folks, fell subject to some of the lending product we've seen exposed, and it was not without holes, that lending product. Things like disclosure of interest rates climbing to an incredible amount and your payment doubling and tripling. It was not without its holes of finding out if borrowers could actually repay the loan that they were given. And then we found out now that there are also holes in the foreclosure process. And a couple of those holes that we identified have been that when a property goes into foreclosure, and we saw our first foreclosures in mid-2006, and we saw a very disturbing trend in that in previous downturns, people stayed in their homes through the foreclosure process until they were either able to work out some kind of loan modification or they were evicted after the foreclosure was complete. What we found was about 30% of the properties that were in the foreclosure process, in the default stage prior to the foreclosure sale, were actually vacant, which left us with 3 out of 10 properties of a lot of new properties out there vacant for months while this foreclosure process went along. And one of the holes...
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I shouldn't.
Does that count against my time?
No. Go ahead.
Sorry. Now I'm going to get myself off track here. What we discovered in the holes in the foreclosure process was that we found earlier than it was exposed through the media that a lot of these loan products were brokered as a mortgage, sold to another company, packaged and sold, big ribbon tied around it, packaged again, sold somewhere else, become a mortgage-backed security somewhere in a faceless corporation that didn't have any local representation. And when we came upon a property that was open and vacant with a green pool and a dead lawn, we would go back and pull those title records, and what they would come back with was the mortgage broker originated the loan. And it's far removed from anybody who has anything to do with it now, because in the state of California, as in many states, there is no requirement that the lender, as they transfer this beneficial interest, record that beneficial interest with the county recorder's office or the recorder of mortgages or deeds. So it left us in a vacuum where we would spend hours making phone calls trying to find out who is now responsible for this loan. Well, we passed an ordinance that now made them responsible to record that information with the city of Chula Vista, and it's worked quite well. Another hole that we found was that even though they had the right in their contract, in the mortgage contract, to abate nuisances and to maintain these properties to a very low standard of clean, green, secure, and when I say green, we actually, to my friends in Idaho, we're allowing turf stain now instead of watering. So it's a vegetable-based dye. I'm with you. So this house doesn't become the missing tooth in the smile that is a neighborhood. It doesn't take, well, my 12-year-old daughter, as we're driving around, points out foreclosures to me now. So it doesn't take a great deal of experience to find these properties. But the lenders were not proactively going out and taking care of these properties in that default pre-foreclosure stage, even though they provided the right under their mortgage contract to do this. Well, they had the right in the contract. We provided them the responsibility through an ordinance. We have had quite a bit of success over the last 20 months. We started out with 1 officer. We now have 4 officers and 3 support staff. We have been contacted by over 400 jurisdictions throughout the nation, several states, and I spend about 60% of my time now answering questions for other jurisdictions about this program and how it's working. The way we funded in a down budget era The way we funded this program was through the fines and penalties from those folks, those lenders who don't comply. Most do, but those who don't face severe penalties, daily fines of $100 to $250, $500 a day, depending on the severity. If it's an open and vacant attractive nuisance with a green pool and no fence, they're getting charged $500 a day. I don't want their money, and this is not a revenue-generating program. I would much rather have compliance. That's the goal. But if they don't want to comply, I'll happily take their money and use their money to go out then and help solve the problem that they create and maintain. And Chris McCoy has a few numbers for us as far as statistics.
Hello. Currently, the city of Chula Vista has an estimated 4,000 properties that are currently in foreclosure. Our program has registered just under 2,500 programs, and this week we received a call from JP Morgan Chase stating that they're going to register another 120 properties coming into the foreclosure process. To date, we found 400 properties through inspections that are not in compliance with our municipal code, and of that 400, 128 of those properties have resulted in fines and penalties. The program to date has generated funds of $1.8 million. We've collected $800,000 of that. We have $600,000 outstanding, and we have forgiven $384,000 in fines and penalties.
The reason we forgive penalties is as lenders will come forward and bring other properties, they'll bring their entire portfolio, if you will, and say, hey, we understand you mean business now. Because initially I was told, we're not doing it. Through the first round of fines, we were told, well, we might do it. And then through the second round of fines and several other jurisdictions passing this ordinance, they said, Doug, how can we work with you? I went from the gnat at the picnic to kind of holding the picnic basket, which is not a bad place to be. So we now have a network with the mortgage lenders. In fact, the Mortgage Bankers Association has asked me if I would help them draft, based on our ordinance, a model ordinance, model legislation, to present to states, so they will have 50 different programs to adhere to instead of several thousand local jurisdictional ordinances. Wow. We're working on that. We're also working on taking the ordinance back, so some small tweaks. It's only been in existence for 22 months now, so, but it's been very successful. One of the things that we're working on with the Mortgage Bankers Association is a means by which all jurisdictions throughout the country can access information on the current beneficiary of these mortgages. It is a program called MERS. It stands for Mortgage Electronic Registration System, and it has been in existence for a while, but it is very, very underutilized. It's a tremendous tool. It's kind of like the DMV for mortgages. Every mortgage is issued a MIN number, a mortgage identification number, and then as these mortgages transfer, the MIN number is simply updated, and this system keeps track of who is responsible for the maintenance and upkeep if it's a foreclosure, who the loan servicer is, who the field servicer is, who the point of contact to get in touch with and say, you have a problem on your property. We also require a posting with that information on the property so neighbors can be our eyes and ears and call these lenders and say, was a group of people supposed to be removing the kitchen cabinets and the carpet out of this house? And it's been quite successful.
Thank you. Well, does anybody have any? David, I'm looking to you, our great questioner over there.
As you rattled off the statistics, I was trying to put it together and understand, okay, 4,000 properties in foreclosure.
This month.
This month?
Yes.
So you've had multiple thousand.
Yes.
Over the 22 months. And some percentage of them have been, the problem has been abated.
Correct.
And some percentage it hasn't. So can you give us a guesstimate of, how many thousands of foreclosed homes that would have looked like eyesores now look okay?
It's a little hard to track because they come and go so quickly. I would say that we've had in the neighborhood since the beginning of this program of probably about 10,000 to maybe 12,000 properties come through the system of foreclosure. We have had cases, and again, we are a reactive program. I'm not out looking at properties as the notice of default is filed. We don't go out, and with Simon Legree and wring our hands together. We rely on the neighbors to say, there's a problem here, please come fix it. So we'll go out and look at those. And we've had, as Chris said, 2,500 plus properties registered with us. We've got 250 that have, 400 that have been in, about 400 that we have found in violation. And of those 400, only about 125, 130 have actually been issued fines and penalties. So it's a fairly significant number. You're looking at probably 65% once we go out and issue a notice of violation. We do provide them an opportunity to correct the problem. In most instances, it's 30 days, so they do have ample time to do that.
And there's been the prevention aspect of it, too. I mean, all of these 10,000, some percentage have realized they didn't want to get fined and done something they might not have done otherwise.
Yeah, that's the unknown for us. Is
Right.
I know that I have been asked by some of the national lenders, well, if I don't register, are you going to come looking for me? Only if you don't keep the property in compliance. I mean, that's what we're looking for, truly, is does the property look, comparable to the neighborhood? Are there, 40 phone books and, 2 bags of trash on the front porch and a dead or overgrown lawn and graffiti in the, on the garage door? If they look like the remainder of the neighborhood, then that's what we're looking for.
Bill?
How hard a job is it to track down and find the beneficial owners of these properties that may be 8, 9 rows down the pike that don't register? I mean, is it a major undertaking to track them down?
It was at first. We're having less and less issue with that now. We've discovered a tool called the Lane Guide, which helps us out, which tracks.
You have the what?
The Lane Guide. It's a company it's kind of the yellow pages and tracking mechanism of all things mortgage lending. And we can go on there, for instance, and put a Suncoast mortgage, and it will click up that National One acquired it, and then Wachovia acquired National One, and then Wells Fargo acquired. So it gives us a point of contact that helps us. The best thing to come out of this has been the dialogue with the Mortgage Bankers Association, where now I can make a phone call to various people with the MBA or with other lenders and say, hey, is this your property? No, but I can look it up on a database that I don't have access to. And for the most part, when you get your first fine, when the lender gets their first fine, they are more than willing to provide us a name and a phone number and a contact. We've had several of the national lenders send representatives to Chula Vista to ride along with us, to talk to us. We have direct phone information to vice presidents and things that we've never had before, so it's been good.
So I'm trying to understand, when somebody does a foreclosure, is that the moment they're supposed to register with you? The moment they tell the person they're moving out?
Well, in the foreclosure process, there is a notice of default that is filed that says we're going forward with foreclosure proceedings. And
Right.
In California, we're non-judicial, and most judicial states they would have a similar process where they would notify. Our ordinance requires that when they file that first official foreclosure document, that they inspect the property for one thing: vacancy or occupancy. Is it vacant? Then you have to register it with us, because there's nobody else that's going to take responsibility for it. If it's occupied, please, by all means, keep it occupied as long as possible. Work the loan mods you can do. We want people in these properties, but it's only triggered by a notice of default and vacancy.
But then they could do the default, and the next day the guy can vacant it. And
It's true, and they do have to continue to re-inspect to make sure that it does remain occupied. And once it becomes vacant, during any point in time in that process, that they then have to register with us.
got it.
And a lot of the lenders now are registering all their properties on MERS rather than doing this little hodgepodge bit by bit. They've decided there's now like 65 million loans registered on MERS that provides access to local jurisdictions for free, by the way.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.